So the more you can industrialize your sales process and your quoting process, the less errors the team is making. And that's where the magic starts.
All right, Louis-Nicolas, nice to have you with me today. You actually have a lot of experience in the manufacturing sector. Back in the day, you actually co-founded and later on sold a manufacturing company that was in high-tech, so electronics and embedded software. Now you've been in the digital transformation space for a few years, working with a lot of manufacturers. So first question for you, if I'm a manufacturer using Salesforce or planning to use Salesforce, what are the big concepts I should focus on and prioritize to get the most out of the solution?
Yeah, so I guess the most important thing to manufacturers is we all know cash is king. There's always a fine line between minimizing inventory and minimizing lead times. Too much inventory, you're burning cash. Not enough, your lead times are super long and your customers may go elsewhere. So forecasting is critical for any manufacturer. You have to have the most accurate possible sales forecast so that you can arm and communicate with your operations team and your supply team to make sure that it'll have the right products at the right time in the right amount. And it's almost impossible to do that without a good sales tool to collect all this information from your sales team and make sure that you're industrializing your whole own sales process to make sure that you have all of those key metrics in place.
All right. So I know there's more. So you talked about the one key concept, which is the forecasting. What would be the second, third key concepts that you'd also focus on?
Yeah. So the other key concepts, just at a high level, and every manufacturing company is looking or has already integrated an ERP. So you need to make sure that you have a very, very good back-end system and a very, very good front-end system. And you need to make sure you take the best of breed of both, right? So that's integrations to ERPs, choosing the right ERP, and looking at your Salesforce process is really critical. The third, I guess, high-level concept is user adoption. So any sales tool that you bring in place, you need to make sure that you're going to have the best adoption possible. So you need a tool that's going to be super simple, that people are going to love to use and make their life easier. So that's the third concept. And then I guess the fourth key concept is channel management. As a manufacturer, maybe you're selling directly to end customers. Maybe you're selling through distributors. Maybe you're selling through integrators or value-added resellers. So you may have multiple channels. And that's another big challenge that you have to think about.
And on that last one, so the go-to-market, the channels. So how does a Salesforce CRM help manufacturer deal with all of that?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So the way you sell to a distributor is going to be radically different than the way you sell to an integrator or an end user, right? So the sales cycle may be different. The people you're talking to may have different skill sets. They're looking for different things, right? So you have to make sure that your CRM and the sales cycle and how you manage these opportunities is different. So you need a tool that's going to allow you to have different processes based on who you're selling and making it simple for your sales team to manage. So that's the first thing. Now that you're selling to a distributor, well, you need to make it easy for them to access your price lists, access your inventory, access information about your products. So maybe a partner portal, allowing them to submit leads, access pricing information, et cetera, is super important. So making sure that you're picking a CRM that also has super easy portal functionalities is critical. So, those are all, things that are really, really important, just managing all the different channels that you have internally.
All right. And on the opposite side of the coin, what are things that you see manufacturers getting Salesforce or they're using it and they're focusing on things that maybe should come as a second priority? So what are things that can be postponed or looked at later in the implementation or in the continuous improvement of their Salesforce?
one of the most tricky things, and again, it depends on the industry and it depends on the sophistication of your different products. But one of the best ways to get adoption on your CRM is getting your sales team quoting in Salesforce. The minute they're quoting in Salesforce, you're going to have more accurate forecasting. You're going to have exact products that their customers are looking for. And if you're automating a lot of the quoting process, it makes their lives easier as a salesperson, so they love the tool even more. But if you have a complicated product with bundles and dependencies and constraints and different options, it may be too big of a chunk to try to do that all in a phase one. So typically we'll put in place a good CRM, put in place basic quoting, and then we'll attack as a second phase, more sophisticated CPQ-like processes. So for configure, price, and quoting with all the dependencies and the options and the add-ons and the product bundles. So that's one of the things that is probably something that I would postpone to a second phase. But again, it depends on the sophistication and complexity of your product lineup.
All right. And I think you touched on it a couple of minutes ago. Of course, for manufacturer, forecasting accuracy is fantastic to apply supply chain. Where we've seen in the past year or two that there's been huge disruption to the supply chain due to many things, pandemic, cargo, and so on. What are maybe other elements of the CRM that can help manufacturer adapt to a new reality?
Yeah, well, that's again, it all comes back to your sales forecast, right? So you can reach out proactively to all the customers and say, "Hey, Mr. Customer, we know that there's a critical component to one of our products. There's long lead times. Please tell me, what is your forecast for the next 12 months?" And have a discussion with them and getting this information. And the more you have this information in your forecast, the more then you can arm your supply chain team with that more more up-to-date forecasting. So it's all about arming your sales team with the right tools to ask the right questions, get the most accurate portrait about the future. And again, it's all about channel management. It's with an end user with a set schedule, it might be super easy to know exactly when they need what. With a distributor, much bigger challenge, right? The distributor may be serving hundreds of customers, but if you're not, if your sales team just doesn't have the right tools, it just becomes super difficult.
Right, and to piggyback on what you mentioned, so we think as a CRM or an ERP as tools where you receive data. But here, if your CRM is in order, if in your Salesforce you have all your accounts, all your distributors, all your end customers, all your go-to-market channel partners, whether it's integrators or specifiers, if you have all of that in there, you can flip it as a tool to reach out to each of these segments, asking them the right questions to get them to tell you where your forecast is going to go.
Yep.
So you flip the switch where it's not just input of data is, okay, now that I have my segmentations, I can flip it, contact all these segmentations with the right communications, the right messages, and get even more data to help the rest of my operations.
Exactly. And so this is what Salesforce calls Customer 360. And I think that's one of the reasons why Salesforce is number one in the market. Having that 360-degree view of your customers as a salesperson, looking at past orders for the past 12 months. What are their buying patterns? Which products that they ordered when? You can learn from this, and then you can plan your forecast. But you can also use this in your QBRs with your customers and say, "Hey, Mr. Customer, in the last 12 months, here's what you bought. Do you anticipate the same schedule for this year, the next, or how is that going to change?" So it's great because if you don't have this information, you don't even know where to start. And that's where the ERP integration is so important. If you have all this ordering information from your ERP, provide it to your sales team. They just have all of the data to have more structured discussions with your customers.
Yeah, and it's not even just the sales team, is because you have all the data in one place, the CRM. Well, your customer service can use it, Your sales can use it, your marketing can use it. Multiple teams within the company can use the same information because it's in the same place.
Correct.
If I'm manufacturer, I just got Salesforce, I'm about to start my project, what should be the mindset with which I approach my project to get the best results?
Yeah, the mindset is it's all about user adoption, right? So that's, again, one of the reasons why Salesforce is so successful, making sure that whatever tool and processes you put in place are super simple. And making sure that all of the processes that you're putting in place, again, will have a real impact on the day-to-day lives of your sales team or your service team or whoever, right? So involving a couple champions from the different departments, making sure that we get their feedback. What works well today? What doesn't work well? What are the tedious manual tasks they're having to do day over day? Let's see how we can automate some of these tasks. Again, making the more you get their feedback early, the more you get some of these early wins or low-hanging fruits. The more that the users of Salesforce will love it. So keeping it simple, getting early feedback from your teams, and also, it's what I don't like going into analysis paralysis. So you can't overthink these projects and take months and months and months to put in place your CRM. You have to take it one small step at a time. Let's identify, what are the core things we need to do, the core processes we need to do as a sales team. Let's put those in place as a first phase. And then let's iterate with a few other phases to make sure that we have a CRM that's going to evolve with time and over time for our company.
All right, yeah, totally agree. Especially one of the things I love the most is when you can remove a click. When you can remove a click for a process, a click, a button, everything you remove is just a plus every time. Yeah. So we saw what the right mindset would be. What would be a mind trap to avoid? So the wrong mindset to approach a project.
Yeah, so the wrong mindset is always trying to go for the big bang approach of trying to solve every little corner case, every processes that you have. You're going to wind up with this huge project, never going to get delivered. You're not going to get quick wins. You're not going to get a quick ROI on it. So just breaking the project into small, manageable pieces. The other trap is thinking that your business is unique. Every customer that we have, yes, they have their uniqueness, but at the end of the day, they're a sales organization. They're manufacturing products. They're selling it through different channels. Believe it or not, most people have all the same challenges. And it's great to try to stay within the best practices, not try to create too much custom work in the development of the CRM. Again, so that the platform is simple to use, easier to maintain, and you're getting it again in a very, very short time frame. So keeping with best practices is also if you don't do that, that's the trap.
Yeah. Then you have extra effort to work around.
Yeah.
And my last question for you, for all these manufacturers that are, stock market is going well. So a lot of companies growing despite all the disruptions in the market, but definitely a fast-paced, changing market. So what's your wish for manufacturers out there who are navigating the current situation, whether it is with growth or, trying to stay at the level they're at now?
Yeah, well, definitely, not only there are supply chain issues right now, there are also labor issues. Finding, especially if you're in a manufacturing industry like high tech, with complicated products to sell, complicated solutions to sell, finding people to sell, support, maintain these solutions is tough these days, right? So making sure, again, that you keep your processes simple and provide them tools to simplify their lives on a daily basis so that they can spend more time with their customers and not fight with the tools. We see this all the time with customers. They have disjointed systems. They have to input data in here in another system and another. They have to create manual quotes from Word templates. It just makes the life of your teams extremely stressful. They have a lot of customers to serve. So trying to simplify all of that is what's going to get you ahead of the curve. The other thing that we've noticed is that, especially in the quoting process, if your team is making errors in the quoting process, if the team is delivering the wrong products at the wrong time, customers are returning them, causing a lot of pain to the organization, that can mean a lot of operational costs, missed opportunities, frustrated customers. So the more you can industrialize your sales process and your quoting process, the less errors the team is making. And that's where the magic starts. Customers feel confident that they're getting the right products at the right time. And that's when all of a sudden the different teams are also collaborating and cross-selling and upselling. You may be selling a specific technology with a specific sales team here, and you have another team selling another type of company, but maybe there's a cross-sell opportunity. Again, with the right CRM, as a manufacturer, you probably have multiple lines of business, multiple divisions. If you're not creating synergies across these, trust me, the competition is. Again, with the right CRM, with that customer 360, now you can have different divisions collaborating and hitting those big projects with all of your different lines of products. And again, that's where the magic happens. And that's where we've seen very successful manufacturers out there expand on their market, either organically or through acquisitions. And right now with acquisitions, if you're not creating those cross synergies, those cross-selling opportunities, what's the point? What's the point of the acquisition in the first place?
All right. Thanks, Louis-Nicolas. I'm sure we're going to discuss this topic more in the future, but nice to have you in, and let's talk soon.
Thanks, David.